I liked that you were able to kind of explain different things without kind of like overloading me with content, but that you were willing to like dig a little bit deeper if I did have a question in a particular area. Hi, I'm Sarah Hushley. I'm the founder and CEO of Charity Shift and Charity Shift Network.
Sarah, I'd love to find out like what drew you to Wow Digital for the website redesign work that we did for you.
So I had two businesses that I was working to combine, an online marketplace for Canadian nonprofits, which was called Connect for Good, as well as a refresh of my original website, Charity Shift. I created the Charity Shift website on Squarespace, and then I had hired a designer to create the Connect for Good website through WordPress. And what I really wanted was a cohesive brand that brought both of the two businesses together and a website that was able to take the best of both of those websites and combine them in a way that was cohesive and consistent, and also something that I would be able to edit myself.
When it comes to the budget of the project, do you feel that it provided good value for you?
Definitely. I think something that I liked quite a bit with the way that the timeline and also the budget was laid out is that I was really clear on what was happening and when, and also the pricing that was connected to each piece of the project. And so definitely, shopping around and taking a look at different budgets, I felt like it was very good value for the ultimate product that I received.
Glad to hear that you love the value that we brought to the table for you. But when we talk about the timeline, were you satisfied with the time that it took to deliver the project? Did it meet your expectations?
Definitely. I think I had really tight timeline. I had aligned my rebrand launch with the 5-year anniversary of Charity Shift. And so I was really specific on the deadline that I needed the website to be live by. And so David and the team did a really great job to make sure that everything was not only ready by that date, but ready well before that date so that we could do testing. I will say there was a lot of things as the project was coming together, a lot of things that I changed my mind on, because sometimes it's hard to understand what something might look like before actually seeing things. And so I felt like even with the many edits or kind of pivots and shifts that I had from the original vision, it still came in well within the time frame that I was looking for. So definitely met those expectations.
And we have weekly calls where we got together and we met, and sometimes the call was really quick, like, hey, we're in development, there isn't really much to show. And how did you find the value in those calls and I guess the overall communication with us?
Very good. I really liked that. So not only with the weekly calls, but also I would have sort of like a testing site to take a look at, or sometimes even screenshots of how things looked. And I find that sometimes when we're working on projects, especially when design is concerned, sometimes it's hard to communicate, different tweaks and different changes. And so I really liked that during the weekly calls, we could also talk through what some of those changes meant, as well as having that kind of testing site so that I could actually see what was being developed and how things were looking, rather than just kind of having it sort of explained to me. And also I liked being able to actually put my own comments onto the document rather than trying to direct, I'm talking about this color or this section here, and be really specific of this is exactly the item that I'm pointing to.
You had to recommend our services to another organization or contact of yours. What would you tell them about us and the redesign experience that you had?
Yeah, I'd say it was really straightforward, definitely met or exceeded all of my expectations. And I think something that I really liked when we were working together, David, is that sometimes if I had questions that were sort of outside of the regular scope, is that you would still kind of go down that path with me. And I think for something like a website design or a lot of tech projects in general, I think unless someone is technically inclined, I think it can feel really overwhelming and kind of unfamiliar for people. And so I like that you were able to kind of explain different things without kind of like overloading me with content, but that you were willing to like dig a little bit deeper if I did have a question in a particular area. And something that I really appreciate as well is that I'm still able to make the edits to the website. I know other organizations that I've worked with, a lot of the clients, the nonprofits that I work with at the moment, when we want to make a small change to an image, to the language, to something on the website, we have to go back to the website designer. Sometimes they charge us, sometimes it takes a while. What I really appreciate is that the way that you built the website, I can just go and make those changes myself.
So, Sarah, everybody has a favorite part of a project, and I know that sounds a little bit geeky or weird, right? Like it's a website redesign. How could you possibly have a favorite part? But do you have a favorite part? And if you do, I guess what made it stand out for you?
I think maybe I won't say a favorite part because I really like all of it, but I think a surprising part was that you actually helped me with copy refinement. And I think that for a lot of times with website redesign, we are just sort of thinking more of the visuals. And I really liked that you were able to say, for example, this is your service page and this is how you're explaining this. I think we looked at some tools in terms of like thinking about how my target audience, so small fundraising teams within nonprofits, what language are they using? How are they speaking about this service? And how do I make sure that the messaging that I'm sharing and the way that it's being communicated is exactly speaking to their needs? And so I think, favorite, also surprising, is that I wasn't actually expecting any sort of copyright edits to be included or, significant content edits or suggestions. And so I really appreciated that because it definitely stood out.
And before we hopped into the project, you were undergoing a branding kind of refresh. I'm curious, what are your impressions about how we took the vision of the new brand and brought that to life through our design process?
I think one thing that stood out for me is that it didn't feel like I was trying to fit my website into a templated website. And I know with the Squarespace website I built myself, a WordPress website that I had designed by a different designer, I knew I was really limited because in both of those scenarios, it was a template that we're trying to put all of our content into. And so it really stood out to me that when I said, for example, can we take this particular section? Can you stretch it this way? Can you move it this way? Can we change how some of the shading is working together? Can we change that? It was really no problem. And so that kind of stood out to me that I don't think there was really anything that you said like absolutely not, we can't do that, unless it was something that the system just doesn't allow for.
So, very often our feedback module is one of the key features in the project. It allows our clients to add content, say, change this picture to this, attach images. How did you find that during the project? And did it enhance your ability to have collaboration with us?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said earlier, the fact that I could just comment on the exact specific thing, I think one of the things, it was a gradient. That's what it was. So I have a lot of gradients in my branding where it goes from, let's say, a purple and then it gradually goes to a green. And there were a few things where I kind of thought like, oh, I want the gradient to sit a bit lower or I want it to blend into the photo in a different way. What I really liked about the way that I could provide the feedback was that I could just like click directly on that image so that there was really no guesswork of like, what do I mean? Are they going to interpret it correctly? It was like, this is the part I want this changed to this. And then you would come back with, here's two different options, or we did it this way, or even to say, oh, the reason that we did the gradient that way is because if we didn't, here's how it looks. And so being able to see, I guess, kind of like behind the scenes of why you did certain things was helpful to see as well.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share or add about your experience in working with Wow Digital?
Let me see. I highly recommend it, which I think you know. But yeah, I think all in all, it was a really good experience. For me, it was a really, really stressful time in my business because obviously combining two businesses into one, doing a relaunch, there was a lot of pressure. And so I didn't really feel worried that it wouldn't get done on time. And I never wondered if it would be at the level that I needed it to be. And so for me, as a business owner, that's what you want, right? You want to make sure that rather than thinking, did I hire the right person? Did they get what I'm trying to do? I liked that I didn't have to worry about that. And so just being able to tick a box of like, yep, this is the right person, they'll just figure it out. And I don't really have to worry if my vision is going to be translated or not. It just was. So yeah, so really enjoyed working together and definitely recommend for others that are looking for website redesign as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah.